After 6 years, One Punch Man Season 3 is here. Episode 1 aired today, and the reactions are, well, quite mixed. My favorite part of the entire episode actually was the opening. I thought they did a fantastic job with this. There's some WebGen animators that did some great cuts, a lot of movement, a lot of beautiful artistic design, and shots of the characters. I'll probably make an entire video just on the opening alone and breaking down some of the best animations from it. Overall, I thought it was really cool, definitely sets the tone for the entire season, and even had some unique animations in it, which was nice. And they also showed Saitama vs Orochi and Garo vs Orochi, highlighting the major boss battle coming to the end of this season. So awesome job there on the opening. Again, I'll make an entire video on that alone, but first let me tell you what I'm going to actually break down in this video. I'm going to give you my initial subjective thoughts. I'm going to give you some objective thoughts regarding the artistic choices, the animation, etc. And I'm really going to try and come at this from a constructive criticism standpoint. I'm not trying to nitpick on every little thing, and I'm also not trying to glaze everything because I'm such a big One Punch Man fan. Instead, as an enjoyer of anime for 30 years, I'm going to try and give you my opinion as to how well JC Staff is doing, and did they step up their game? Are there still flaws? Which, yes, there are, unfortunately, but I still think we're in pretty good shape. Before I start criticizing it, I just want to say I still really enjoyed it, and I'm still very happy it's airing right now. In fact, I think this morning it felt like Christmas. Like I was like one of the happiest I've been in a long time, and that hasn't really gone away. I'm still very excited, so please take my criticism with a grain of salt. All right, let's jump into the episode and break it down. Mastar. Our episode opens up with the Hero Association, and this is taking place directly after Season 2 ended. Elder Centipede has just been destroyed, and the Hero Association is talking about how lucky they are to have King, who must have been the one who defeated him. They mention Blast, and they're like, well, why isn't Blast here? And they say it's impossible to call on Blast because he's just a hero for fun, pretty much like Saitama. Now, I don't think we're going to be getting Blast here in Season 3, but we should be getting him in Season 4, I believe. And I'm just crazy excited to see him, but we probably will not get any Blast here. So one of the rich donors to the Hero Association, his son has been kidnapped by the monsters, and Sekengar tells us that he is organizing a hero squad to go deep into the Monster Association and rescue the innocent children. There's actually two. And Tatsumaki's like, I could just destroy the whole thing right now, and they say, no, don't do that. Obviously we're trying to save these kids, and you can't risk, killing the innocent. So they're gonna have to go in and invade the Monster Association, which is in Z City. While the artistic direction and the animation in the opening were exemplary, unfortunately, as we phase into the episode, the animation just seems to cut off almost entirely. It's a lot of talking flaps and still frames, colorful shots that are like kind of unnecessary. So we saw in the trailer these like highlighted pink and green shots, and I was saying, is this some sort of filter because they're, under some neon lights? Is this their internal dialogue? Well, it turns out none of that, really. Tatsumaki is literally just replying, and they show her in this scene it's just weird. They just show it real quick. It's jarring to me. I think it's almost like a case of trying too hard. Same thing with all the thick line work that they put all over the images everywhere. It's like, you can tell they're obviously trying extra hard to kind of add this polish, but when they go too above and beyond, it's like when trying to be pro goes wrong. It just ends up being inconsistent and jarring. So for the most part in the entire episode, the artwork and the models look pretty great, pretty on point. There's a couple little wonky looking images, but for the most part, the models look better than Season 2. However, the compositing seems to change from scene to scene, which I haven't really seen too many animes do that. It's a little strange to me, a very peculiar artistic choice. And to me, it kind of upsets you as a viewer almost subconsciously because the stylistic choice of every shot, every time the camera changes, is different. And typically anime follow a vastly more consistent methodology for how every scene looks and feels, so one scene flows smoothly into the next. That's very important as a director and as an artistic designer, and unfortunately, like, it doesn't flow very well here, in my opinion. Now, that is completely subjective, but I think a lot of people can agree with me that it's not even just the pacing, which was also a little bit off, slow in some parts, too fast in others, but the constant change in look and feel of every shot definitely threw me off a little bit. It's not the biggest deal in the world. People will complain about everything. I know. I'm not trying to complain about it too much, but the point of criticism is to help people improve. I'm not saying this to be a hater. I'm saying it so that if any of the staff sees this, they can understand some constructive criticism on how to improve for season 4. So we knew this was going to be a talking episode, and there wasn't going to be a lot of action. It was going to be a little bit more like character acting and such, but there actually really wasn't even that much character acting in here. And one of the most peculiar and kind of unnerving scenes is with Amai Mask and Atomic Samurai, as they have these long, still sequences slowly zooming out on a pan. It's not even an animated zoom out. And I know that this scene, it's not really super important, so they could definitely be saving a lot of their budget and high caliber animation for the fights that are coming. So, I don't want to go ahead and jump the gun and just judge it and be like, oh my gosh, the whole season's going to be like this, because you don't know, maybe they just ran out of time, and this is, since it's a talking scene, they didn't feel like they wanted to waste too much resources on it. Their resources are extremely limited in terms of money and bandwidth and how many animators they can hire and how much they can work the animators. They did have enough production time, though, so they really can't complain too much. There is definitely a lack of motion and movement for such a top tier anime, and that should be a little bit concerning, but we'll see. Again, maybe the top tier animators are all working on the combat scenes, so fingers crossed for that. Although there was one cool little interaction here between Amai Mask and Atomic Samurai, where Amai Mask thinks he's stronger than Atomic, and he's like, oh yeah, you want to test it out? My money was totally on Atomic. Atomic would just slice Amai Mask into sashimi in an instant, I think. We also got some comical little Puri Puri prisoner scene where the police are letting him escape to stop some monsters, and one of his little prisoner buddies gives him a hand-knitted sweater that he made him, and as Puri Puri prisoner goes to grab it, he kind of glazes the guy's hand a little bit. Anyway, but we get a little image of Nyan, a cute cat monster who fights quite a bit here in this season. I like his character quite a bit, and I'm excited to see him. And we also got Black S. We got to hear his voice actor, which was surprisingly deep, and I think it was a great choice. Maybe you guys can correct me, but Puri Puri Prisoner and Amai Mask sounded like different voice actors in this season. Maybe I'm wrong, but can anybody correct me in the comments if they changed voice actors, or is it the same guys? Because they just sounded different to me. So we also have an interaction with Child Emperor and Metal Knight, aka Beaufoy. And this is interesting if you follow the webcomic, because right now in the webcomic we're on the Mad Cyborg arc, and Beaufoy is a central character in it. And it's actually quite interesting knowing that information to see how he talks kind of earlier in the series, because he's a very mysterious character. We're not sure if he's actually crazy or the Mad Cyborg yet. Even with all the information we have from the webcomic, we still don't know who it is for sure. We have an idea now, which might have been the biggest twist in One Punch Man history, but it's nice to kind of go back and see Beaufoy's interactions and the way he talks, because you learn obviously in season 1, as Drive Knight tells Genos, Beaufoy, or Metal Knight, is your enemy. So now we have like this eye on him, and the way he talks is still like one of a hero with some mysterious motives. So we go over to Zombie Man, who I guess is in Z City, maybe looking for the entrance to the Monster Association, and we get another one of these highlighted pink shots. Again, don't really understand it. It doesn't make sense. I guess it's just to stand out, but I just think it's jarring and unnecessary. I don't really appreciate it. I mean, if they're standing under a neon light or something, or it's some sort of internal monologue where he's going on this like big exposition, like, okay. But it's like the dude is just standing outside in the sunlight. We get 3 or 4 shots of the daylight, and then all of a sudden he's pink. and I just feel like it's unnecessary. Again, I just feel like it's just trying too hard and it goes wrong. So now we get one of the more fun parts of the episode, a nice slice of life where Fubuki comes over to Saitama's house, and we got King, Bang, Bomb, Genos, the whole crew is hanging out. King is beating Saitama's butt on video games as normal. Genos is repairing himself after his big fight with Elder Centipede, and Silverfang threw his back out, so he's taking acupuncture to heal up. They're all trying to rest because, as we saw from the end of Season 2, they could not defeat Elder Centipede, but they threw some amazing attacks, but it had to be Saitama to come through to take him out, and they took some damage, so they're resting. Elder Centipede was an extraordinarily powerful monster. And Fubuki doesn't really know what's going on. Just like, why are all these insanely powerful people like all surrounding Saitama? And furthermore, why are you guys all inside here? Monsters are attacking and we need your help. And Saitama says, I just got home a little while ago, I was taking a short break, but he's gonna eventually get up, put his suit on, and leave to go fight. He said he's gonna go look for Garo, and if he finds Garo, he's gonna punch him. And now we're gonna go over to Garo, who is wrapped in bandages, and he is waking up after all of his battles in Season 2. He had to be rescued by the Monster Association. He was about to get decimated by Bang, Bomb, and Genos, and he just barely escaped with his life. But they're welcoming him into the Monster Association. He's eventually gonna meet the one-eyed leader, Giro, who wants Garo to essentially become a general of the monsters. In terms of the animation, it was definitely a lacking section here. Most of the art looked fairly good. The getting up, the putting the shirt on animation isn't even as good as the sketch Aoki posted on Twitter, which is peculiar. I think most viewers are not going to have any idea that this is missing animation. Like 90% of people are going to watch it and still think it's amazing. So, you don't need to be like a gatekeeper and criticize it too much. But they definitely did struggle here on this walk cycle from Garo. I mean, it's not easy. If you guys aren't familiar with animation, a foreshortened walk cycle is extremely hard to do well. And they definitely struggled here. People are ragging on it, I think, a little bit too much. You also got to know his bones are broken here. A lot of people are picking on this scene. It really doesn't bother me too much. I think people are just like really excited to jump the gun and just say that the season sucks without giving it a chance. I don't think it's really worth it to make assumptions about the entire season based on episode 1, which is just not a combat season. But if the combat is not good, then we're in trouble. If the combat's great, people aren't gonna care about a Garo walk cycle in episode 1, unless you're just like a hater. So now Garo walks out and he sees essentially the Monster Association headquarters, Giro, Orochi, and a couple new recruits like Machine God G5, who has just battled and captured a group of 5 armored human soldiers who were hired as mercenaries to come and rescue the kidnapped child. But they got wrecked by the Machine God. They're wearing some powered up battle suits, kind of similar to what the guys wore in episode 4 of season 1, maybe even a little bit better. And we see Do S come out, and she can basically take over weak people and turn them into like monster slaves. So she buffs all these humans, and they're gonna work for her now. So Garo, he steps up to the plate in this coliseum. There's all this beautiful lighting. I really like the sequencing here, just really good color choices. Giant Orochi sitting in the back. By the way, not a single CG Orochi, so that makes me very excited and is very promising. None of the Orochi scenes, even in the intro with the action, are CG. So that is huge good news for us, and hopefully it maintains that way for the rest of the season. As Giro tells us, there's less than 30 demon level or above monsters. So most of the monsters have been pretty whacked out, and Giro says they need a new leader as we recruit more monsters. And then we get to see Black S for the first time, and he's like, wow, a new leader already? Like, that's crazy. We just met the guy. And as Giro explains that he's been looking for someone like Garo, an anti-hero. He essentially wants to make him the new Orochi. He wants to put him through such intense battles that he gets stronger and stronger every battle, and he sure will be going through some crazy intense fights here in this season. Again, Garo is essentially the main character of One Punch Man Season 3, and you better learn to love him because he just gets cooler and cooler as the series is going to progress. I love this shot here where Garo's like, what is that giant thing behind me? They still haven't really told us too much about Orochi. They're just kind of teasing him at this point, but I like the look of him. They kind of give him this like colored pencil feel. It's not really like the 2D traditional animation, but at least it's not CGI. I guess they figured since it's a still, let's give it some extra detail. And they surely did, but I'm very curious to see how they're going to animate that big fella. In any case, the kind of monster headquarters introduction, I'd give it a check. I thought they pulled this off pretty well, and I like their use of lights because they are underground. They're super deep underground, and sometimes movie and animation studios, they'll make scenes like that so dark you can't even really see much. I like that they made it bright. I like being able to see the characters and the colors and everything. And in terms of artistic choice for this scene, I thought they did a phenomenal job. This is one of the much better scenes that they pulled off here. And then the final scenes are kind of a soft introduction to Royal Ripper and Bug God. As Giro says, keep an eye on Garo. Garo's gonna leave the Monster Association and go outside, and these two very powerful monsters are going to follow him. As we saw from the teaser for One Punch Man Season 3, I guess I can spoil it, they're gonna fight. I mean, we saw a clip from it. It was like one of the first promotional material they released. So pretty pumped about that fight. It seemed to be animated very well. I assume they'll be using the footage they showed us because it was so polished, but we'll have to see. And our final shot of the episode is a very buff looking Garo. Sometimes they draw him extremely buff and his muscles are protruding, and sometimes they draw his muscles like very soft. I think they could get a little bit more consistent on that, but hey, you know, Dragon Ball Z wasn't super consistent, right? And we also got soft introduction to Hellfire and Gale, two ninja monsters who want to fight against Flashy Flash, and we see Sonic. They gave him a monster cell and he ate it, but I believe he cooked it, and because he cooked it, it killed like the enzyme that would turn him into a monster. And so he comes out of the toilet, he's like, man, that thing, you know, I finally got it out of me, but I can feel the monster power coming on. And it turns out like he's not actually a monster. He just feels faster because he pooped so much. And then we got the outro, the ending credits. I thought this was super weak sauce. Not a single character in it. I know it really doesn't matter too much, but to me, this was like a pretty big letdown. Like, just why? Like, dude, we don't want to see all these landscapes. Like, we don't care. Show us Saitama or something, you know? But maybe that's just me. But yeah, very subjective review. This is a review, and you know, I've just given you guys my honest thoughts. But as a One Punch Man fan, I'm still very happy. I would probably give this episode a 7 out of 10. I'd probably give the intro like a 9.5 out of 10. This was just an episode we had to get through to get to the good stuff, so I'm still going to be reserved until we get these major combat animation scenes. That's really where the money is, because I've been in this industry 10 years, and I know that whenever an anime has an unbelievable Sakuga like combat sequence and it goes viral, that anime gets extremely popular extremely quickly. And so that's really what matters, is going to be the combat animation. Can they pull it off without CGI? Did they bring on some web gens and some super talented guys to show us some unique, extremely fast-paced and spectacle type animation that we're looking for? Stuff that can perhaps rival season 1. We'll have to see. But make sure you guys subscribe and notifications enabled. I got tons of videos coming from One Punch Man Season 3. Next, I have to break down the opening because it's beautiful and there's a lot of cool scenes to talk about. So I'll be doing that probably Tuesday. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.